and welcome to another video on the JayBee and Milly channel. Today we are going to be discussing Scooby-Doo Through the Ages as we celebrate today its 53rd birthday. Now, I think I'd be hard pressed to sit and think of a TV show that's actually survived that long.
No, I mean the only one that I can think of is Doctor Who, which I think is coming up to 55 years, maybe even longer. But that being said, in terms of animation, I honestly couldn't tell you. Perhaps Tom and Jerry, and that's about it.
I mean, looking at this display you've made though, it's not just animation. It goes beyond that and into every platform over that time. You know, we've had 3 live action adaptations. We've had, you know, book adaptations as well. And ultimately, it really has, as this visual shows, kind of transitioned throughout time, since it started way back when in 1969 with Scooby-Doo, Where Are You?
No,
which...
I do know that a comment section love kind of tearing me apart a bit. So I do want to let everyone know that this visual wasn't made with, let's get every single version of the gang ever in mind. I did kind of pick and choose based on aesthetic and stuff. So if you're gonna, no, comment down below which one we've missed and which one you wish that we included the most.
You've missed the live action Daphne and Velma, but I will forgive that and move on. So, like I said, starting way back when with Scooby-Doo Where Are You in 1969, which recently we've had the pleasure of like revisiting and reviewing. So, I guess it's given that we've seen that season 1 quite recently. What would you say was the key component back then that's made it stand the test of 53 years?
I think more than anything, I think fun and intrigue, but also simplicity. So people, you know, if you were a kid and you were kind of a bit on the more, I guess, basic side, you just wanted to see an animal in something that appealed to you. But also it kind of added in a bit of an extra creepy vibe in the fact that I actually didn't watch it as a child because it scared me. So whenever I'd watch it and I'd see that that was the particular intro, I'd just turn it off because the kind of sound effects would scare me. So it's the type of thing where it is still, you know, fun and suitable for everyone, but there's also a bit of an edge to it that makes it last beyond the test of time. Like watching it today, you don't feel like you would be feeling if, say, you were this old and watching Teletubbies, because there's still a bit of edginess to it. But no, I think that's it, a good mixture of the two.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's certainly one of those things where you can kind of age with it.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, ultimately you can enjoy this whether you're a young child or even to some extent an adult watching this as well, trying to solve the mystery alongside. And I think ultimately just kind of the character traits and the premise that was set down within that first series really did kind of solidify things for the future.
I agree, definitely. And I think the monsters, like the design level of it has also kind of, I don't know if it was because they're like the originals, but they've transcended quite a lot to the fact that every time, you know, you even look at what the fans are doing at the moment with the Mystery Incorporated live action series, they've pretty much used, you know, like Minor 49 or the Black Knight Ghost, you know, creatures from this original Where Are You series. So they're definitely the ones that seem to have stuck with fans the most, maybe helped by their inclusion in Monsters Unleashed, but
yeah,
they're iconic.
Perhaps. And I mean, one thing that I am pleased about is that we went on from Where Are You to then have the new Scooby-Doo movies, because ultimately I think having those longer episodes was quite essential. You know, to start kind of building up more of a story, because I think sometimes that was the one thing the original series lacked, is you didn't always get to meet the villain before they were unmasked.
I think this should be a happy medium between it. A bit like you know, Marvel's attitude to streaming now, where the episode's just as long as it needs to be, because I feel there's some episodes of the new Scooby-Doo movies where the 40-minute format do so many like good things for it. Like, I can't think about one like the Addams Family one was fun. It didn't need to be that long, but you kind of got all the characters' vibes in that time. Whereas the one like A Good Medium Is Rare kind of could have been trimmed down to 20 minutes, and they just had to inflate it with jokes and stuff. So I don't know. I think some do benefit, others don't. But I do find it more watchable than, you know, the Where Are You series in terms of digging deep into it.
No, that's quite interesting. And I think, you know, it all really started to build up Scooby for what was going to be the future. And then I'd say arguably in the 80s was when Scooby really started to thrive, because throughout the 80s I think there was 3 different series that was made. So we were starting off with the new Scooby and Scrappy-Doo show, and then going on to the 13 Ghosts, and also a pup named Scooby-Doo all throughout that decade. So JayBee, given that those, 3 series in that time frame, was any of those 3 stood out to you the most?
So, okay, I think here's the thing. I don't know why. I don't know if it is like an interview spoiler or something, but we saw an episode recently, or part of an episode of the Scrappy series, and I think it kind of bodes a bit unpleasantly for our opinions on it, or at least for your opinions on it, because when it was the Lenny Weinrib Scrappy, I think you seemed to be quite dismayed by it, whereas both of us two were Scrappy defenders when you look at things like Google School, and
even Scooby-Doo the movie, to be fair.
Yeah, and that was both. Gosh, that was. I think Don Messick took over as Scrappy in Google School and stuff, and you had Scott Innes as Scrappy in 2002. I think both of those do quite a good job being easy on the ears universally. Whereas I think the Lenny Weinrib was a bit polarizing. I didn't mind him, but I know instantly you were like, "Since when did Scrappy sound like that?" So
it was disappointing for me, I'll admit. I mean, for me in the 80s, the one real go-to was the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo. Of all those 3 series that came out at that time, for me, just the character of Vincent Von Gogh, and also just seeing the dynamic of just having like Daphne, Shaggy, Scooby, I like it.
What do you think of the red shirt Shaggy?
I don't have any problem with it. I genuinely don't. And I don't know, like, I genuinely don't have any issue with them changing outfits somewhat. I mean, if you take a look at the visual, you can see, I think it's the bottom right corner, you've got the look for the 13 Ghosts.
Yeah, with Bogo, Weird, Flim Flam.
For me, looking at that, I kind of, controversially, prefer how Daphne looks in that to a pup named Scooby-Doo. Like, I don't like how they've changed it to pink there.
Listen, the weird thing about this is, gosh, and I think, who was it? I think it may have been on a blog post I read from Mark Evanier. I'll leave that in the description down below. But it was funny because the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo purposely retconned Daphne's outfit because they were scared that the original 1969 outfit would age badly, and so the 13 Ghosts Daphne was made with all the current trendy styles, the things that were in fashion. But now when you look back at it in 2022, that looks more, yes, that's from the 80s, then versus Mystery Incorporated Daphne having that look. It doesn't seem outdated. It's just, oh yeah, there's Daphne. Whereas that's, oh my gosh, that's an old-fashioned one. So it's interesting how some things remain timeless and other things kind of go out of style. I wonder what the modern day equivalent of that would be.
It would be interesting to see. I guess kind of the Daphne and Velma adaptation is kind of the closest to modern day we have, right? Kind of that look where Daphne has the high boots, and I kind of guess that's the closest we have to the modern look. But like I said, it seemed to kind of thrive in the 80s, and then I feel like we really are just going through a history of Scooby here, but like...
Did we do the Scooby-Doo show? Because I can't remember seeing that on a list. But at the same time, it's the one I remember the most, like Laugh Olympics. So.
No, I did skip over the Scooby-Doo show, admittedly.
Was there a reason why? Like, did you not enjoy it?
No, it wasn't that I didn't enjoy it, I guess. And to be fair, I mean, it's notable that actually, me saying the 80s it was thriving, but there was like 4 different series in the 70s as well, with the Scooby-Doo movies, the Scooby-Doo show, like you say, the Laugh Olympics, and Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo as well. So again, this really was a time where Scooby flourished. I mean, admittedly, the only thing that stands out to me from that is the Laugh Olympics. I actually don't remember really watching the others.
See, I would always watch the Laugh Olympics just as they were on reruns, but the new Scooby-Doo show, the Scooby-Doo show I watched obsessively. It's the intro that I remember the most. I think when we get to it, I'm gonna see like the first few frames of an episode and go, yes, I know what this one's about. Like the Scooby-Doo show and what's new Scooby-Doo were literally on my head and repeat throughout my 6s to 15s.
Wow. Okay. Well, like we were saying, Scooby was a great success. I mean, I think that equals like 8 different shows in its first 20 years.
Yeah, and not even Doctor Who did that, I don't think. Like,
No. So, can I ask, why do you think A Pup Named Scooby-Doo is where it ended for like 14 years? Because from what I've got on the chronology here, A Pup Named Scooby-Doo was 1988, and then it doesn't kind of give anything else till What's New Scooby-Doo in 2002.
I think Scooby-Doo was on the rocks for a while, to be honest. So, again, this isn't a spoiler, but going to the blog post of Mark Evanier, he was brought in to the new, to the Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo show to save the series. There was one new show that they wanted to greenlight, and then the executives that were going, no, Scooby does well, we need to save Scooby, it's a guaranteed success. But they were like, it's getting a bit stale, viewership's dropping, how do we save it? And I think it was Bill Hanna that said, okay, here's the idea, we've got Scrappy-Doo, if someone can make him work, then we could have a hit on our hands. And so he came in and he wrote the first episode, and Scrappy was successful at the time, saved the show. But then, right after it was nearly cancelled, it saw some success. But then, straight from that, I think there was a few more maybe, but then you had the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, which was cancelled before its time. They were like Christian activist groups that were kind of like slandering it and just ripping it apart, because apparently the real supernatural stuff was going against Christian values. That was teaching kids like demonicism or whatever it's called. Like the Stranger Things. Like, no spoilers, but what was it called? There was like a weird word for it, like something paranoia, like, or something. It was like people were scared about people becoming witches and stuff. So that was cancelled. And then you had A Pup Named Scooby-Doo that I think was good. I think it was successful. It was nominated for Best Television Show, but I don't believe it was enough to fully go, the next one's going to be a guaranteed hit. And that's where I think it comes off at. Either that, or maybe it was the time that it went from just Hanna-Barbera to Warner. But I don't know. I think that may have been Shaggy and Scooby-Doo get a... No. Maybe it was that.
I mean, ultimately, I think that What's New Scooby-Doo was the perfect reboot. From just the song at the start of the episodes, the energy's there, and I was in love with the series. I'll openly admit that the What's New era is my favourite era of Scooby, not just for the series, but the movies as well, which of course the movies we're going to come on to in a second. But yeah, What's New for me, just the new look for Daphne and everything, I absolutely adored it.
Yeah, it's the one that I watched the most as a kid because it was always on. And they'd always timed it right, I feel. So I finished school, I think, at 4. And so sitting down to have dinner, that would be what was on always from Monday to Friday. Every day it was What's New Scooby-Doo. I must have watched every single episode at least 50 times. And I think they did do a great job modernizing it. And I would still go back to it now. I enjoy it.
So JayBee, what was your thoughts on them deciding to transition away from What's New into the next era, which is Shaggy and Scooby-Doo Get a Clue?
Oh, this killed me. Like,
it killed your love for Scooby, didn't it?
It did kill my love for Scooby. My love for Scooby was really strong. It was like playing Among Us. I was like happily running around doing my tasks, and then Get a Clue just like got its gun out and just aimed for me and pulled the trigger, and I was a ghost. But then again, I have gone back to it recently in those like 13 Summer Tales and stuff collections, and I actually did enjoy it. So I'm looking forward to giving the show another chance, but that pretty much put me on a Scooby hiatus until being revived by Smash.
And that's kind of a shame because the series after that was Mystery Incorporated. And I feel like if we'd both got through that Get a Clue era, Mystery Incorporated for me is kind of like almost like What's New level of entertainment. Like,
well, I would argue
for me, it's on that
now.
standing.
Okay, question for you there. Do you think... Okay, so say your opinion on Mystery Incorporated today. If you had seen it when it was airing, do you think you'd either look back at it as fondly as you remember, or as you know it now? Or do you think you would have enjoyed it more or less watching it, I guess, week by week? Like, do you think, like, how do you think your opinion would have changed if you'd watched it then? as opposed to being introduced to Scooby again by Smash and going, oh yeah, let's check out this show because he said it was cool.
I think I enjoyed it more now, purely because I think Mystery Incorporated is the only series of Scooby-Doo where you have to watch it in order. And ultimately, just seeing episodes flash up on Boomerang, you're not watching it in order.
Oh yeah, you know what? I think you're right as well, because even when we were speaking to Mitch Watson, he was saying that it was almost like, I think Cartoon Network was sabotaging them a bit. So us watching, like, we may have had the best Mystery Incorporated experience of anyone in the community, purely for the fact that we had the kinds, or like the chance to go, okay, we're seeing this. This is episode 1, 2, 3, 4. And maybe someone else, like, let us know in the comment section if you managed to watch it that way, or if you were like hit with the Cartoon Network thing, if you saw it on HBO Max afterwards or Boomerang, because I'd be very curious to see whose first watch through was in order.
Interesting. And okay, from there we head into a series that was relatively controversial. Lots of changes, both in characters, style, and everything. But it was well received by some, and that's Be Cool.
I actually really like Be Cool. Like, I know people kind of say that the art style's a bit crap, and honestly, here's the thing. I don't really see it. Genuinely, I don't, and I'm not just saying that, because here's the thing. I always just look at the substance versus the look, and a good example of that is one of my favourite animated movies, I think it's more like CGI animation, is Hoodwinked. And you can find GameCube cutscenes that look better than Hoodwinked. You can find archived footage from a failed third-party gaming console that looks better than Hoodwinked. But the storyline's there, the music's there, the vibe's there. And I like it a lot. And again, you know, Ultimate Spider-Man looks great, it looks gorgeous, but my favourite series is the one that looks more 2D and blocky, which is Spectacular Spider-Man. So really, when it comes to animation and look, I don't mind it at all, and it's just funny. It's the best performance that Kate Micucci gives as Velma. I just really like it. I don't think I've seen, no, I have seen every episode, but I don't think there's one, like, when we get to it review-wise, I don't think there's one I'm gonna pass from memory, because they're all just really funny and different and quirky.
I mean, for me, the art style reminds me as if you combine, like, Phineas and Ferb with Recess. I don't know if you can see that.
A lot of people say, like, Family Guy and stuff like that.
Though. And then we're kind of moving on to the most recent series, Scooby-Doo and Guess Who. What's your thoughts on this?
Can I have a moment?
Yeah. I mean, I guess, starting with me then, my thoughts on Scooby-Doo and Guess Who is, arguably, I dislike it to a point where I'm worried that this could be the start of the next 14 years we go without Scooby-Doo.
Well, here's the thing. Scooby-Doo and Guess Who, I think, has the personality of white bread. And when I say white bread, I don't mean with butter or anything. It is quite simply a white bread show. It's not offensive to the taste. It isn't even particularly bland. It just gets you past the hunger stage. It does nothing more than fulfill your hunger for a Scooby show or something, in my opinion. But the reason why I asked for a moment was because I wanted to get our copy of Scooby-Doo and Guess Who, the complete first season. And there's a lot that I can see here, and I absolutely love. So, Elementary, My Dear Shaggy, I adore. Ollie Ollie and Come Free, amazing. There's gonna be a few more that I can see. So, Quick Clowning, What a Night for a Dark Night, Space Station Scooby, you know, I'm just trying to look at them here because I want to give it the credit it deserves. I Put a Hex on You. There's some episodes integrated within what I consider a lackluster series that I'm like, no, that stands out as one that's amazing. Like, instantly one that comes to mind. We had to, like, watch this in a weird way, but the Blue Falcon episode of Guess Who is amazing. Seeing Velma fangirl over Blue Falcon, because I had to watch that to prepare for David K. So it's not one that I can go, okay, I'm going to watch episode 1 to the last one, but it's one that I'm going to say, if this episode's on, yeah, I'll watch it.
Okay, perfect. So I guess, that's it. That's the first 53 years of series of Scooby-Doo.
yeah.
But I guess one thing I want to talk about is what happens in the next year. Like,
did you want to talk about the movies?
I mean, I'm going to come on to the movies after the series, but this is where we sit with 53 years. We're going to be sat here again, same time next year. And two things that I think we're going to be talking about then is the new Velma series and potentially a little bit more about Mystery Pups.
Yeah, so here's the thing. Velma and Mystery Pups, I think they're opposite ends of the same coin, which might be shocking, but it is the same coin.
What I feel like is the toddler thing. It's like Scooby-Doo meets Paw Patrol. You can leave your 2-year-old watching it safely. Whereas the only thing I've seen of Daphne and of the Velma series is a character with the top of their head chopped off. And no one's leaving a 2-year-old to watch that. So like you say, no one in their right mind. Yeah. Your mum bought you Howard the Duck, but that's an entirely different story. But I see what you mean about the two ends of the spectrum.
But the two ends of the same coin, and I think they're the Scooby franchise doing all they can to reach a wider audience as possible. And I do think they have chosen two polar opposites, like you say, toddlers and adults. Now, there's a debate about the Velma series. There's even a debate about the Mystery Pup series, but I guess that's not what this is about. My kind of take is anything that does something different, I'm excited to try. I think the Scooby franchise, not being a purist, being reintroduced to it relatively early, I kind of don't really have as much of a stake in it as people, but at the same time, I feel like that gives me scope to look back and not be like, taking it really seriously, like they can't do this, how dare they do that? Like, I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, we could have been reintroduced to it, and Smash could have gone, oh yeah, then in 2017 they did a Velma series where Mindy Kaling, like, investigates someone that's had the head chopped off. And I'd be, oh, okay, then what? Oh, then there was a thing where, Daphne and Velma, they were a married couple and they had 5 adopted kids and they had to figure out which adopted kid was really a Captain Cutler supporter. And I'd be, oh yeah, okay, that's great. You know what I mean? Like, anything could have happened and I would have gone, right, fine, cool. So with this, I think it's just a case of waiting to see. And, with a lot of them as well, I guess no one gets forced to watch them, so they're fine. We'll see where they go. They could be bad, could be good.
It's certainly going to be an interesting year to see what else happens there. So, we'll catch up again in a year with this series, but heading into the movies and just the 53 years of Scooby there, I mean, ultimately, the first movie didn't come till like 10 years into Scooby. So, first episode was 69, and Scooby-Doo Goes Hollywood is 1979.
Oh.
So, do you have any kind of thoughts on what could have prompted this movie? Like I say, it was 10 years in.
I think it's just natural. That you see all the time, there's TV shows that are successful, and then people are like, let's try and get a movie from it. Now, whether that was, I don't think it was cinematic. I don't know if it was like on DVD like sooner than the other like series or something. But I just think it was normal at that point to just do a movie. Like, you can think of so many shows, especially now, or not even now, like it's old now, that I just have a movie at the end to top it off, like the in-between. It's not really appropriate for this conversation perhaps, but that other series, and then it ended with a movie, so I don't know.
I mean, like you say, I think a movie can often be a natural progression path, but it says, and this kind of surprises me, that they then didn't do another movie for another 8 years, which is when we do the Boo Brothers movie. I didn't realise there'd be that much of a gap.
I think I did. But then if you think the last one in like the Boo Brothers series is that Reluctant Werewolf. But
yeah,
I mean, between that and Zombie Island there's a load, I think.
You kind of have an era, don't you? There's Scooby-Doo meets the Boo Brothers, the Ghoul Skull, and the Reluctant Werewolf. And then you do get Arabian Nights as well in the early 90s, but then you get a break until Zombie Island. So I'd say up to Arabian Nights for me is almost like phase 1 of Scooby movies. And for me, I'm going to say Ghoul Skull is the one that stands out to me as my favourite.
What, of the classics?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I just always like the idea of like this like girl school and
they're all really cute as well.
Yeah.
It's a good cast, and I think the way that the Calloway kids get along with the Grimwood girls, like I think that that's actually a really cool dynamic. Maybe even one that rivals Shaggy and Scooby doing their thing. I don't think there's ever really a dull moment. Whereas I think I remembered Reluctant Werewolf a lot more fondly than I reviewed it. Where I think a lot of that has a lot of ups and downs, but yeah. But Boo Brothers is kind of like the middle ground for me. I enjoy some of it, don't enjoy other parts, but it's enough to entertain
me. I certainly think it was a good start to Scooby movies. And obviously then, like we say, the last kind of iteration there had been Arabian Nights, which is what I consider the kind of early era movies. We then start off what I'd call phase 2 with Zombie Island in 98, followed by The Witch's Ghost, Alien Invaders, and Cyber Chase, which all arrive on the build-up to What's New. And like we said, there was a bit of a lull in between A Pup Named Scooby-Doo and What's New. And I think a lot of people kind of attributed Zombie Island to the reboot of Scooby-Doo. So do you see that? Like,
yes, 1,000,000%. Because not just from what I've been told, I almost think that the Scooby franchise's most edgy, like, trip into the, you know, most edgy experiment, most edgy project was the direct results, like, was the direct catalyst that cancels what would have been the most edgy Scooby project. So I think this is the way Smash describes it, and I haven't gone back to research this aspect. I don't think there's a lot more that I've become knowledgeable about in myself, but around the context, I think Smash is the expert. In fact, if he's listening to this, comment down below if I get anything wrong, because I don't want to misquote. But from what I can gather, the Scooby franchise was more or less dead at this point. Nobody really cared about it except for the people that have stuck with it, you know, the purists, the people that grew up on Where Are You and had kids. Those were the only people that really cared about the franchise at this point. So then you get the executives going, okay, because I think the original plan for Zombie Island was like a movie about just cat people or like superstars or whatever. And so they're like, okay, this isn't working. Let's make it about Scooby, because that was successful and people might still remember it. But then they had license to do whatever they could. It was edgy, it was scary. And then all of a sudden, you had Zombie Island that came out, which was ridiculously successful. And everyone was talking about Scooby again. People were rushing back to their old collections, watching the old shows, watching the other movies. And Scooby completely blew up. It warranted another series that would be greenlit later down the line, which was What's New. But then you had the 2002 movie, which I think was going along the same lines in the writing stage, at least, of Zombie Island. Like, people don't really care about this. We're just going to do whatever, so let's make it like, you know, the Gosnell Cut. But then because people started to care again, because of the edgy Zombie Island, that meant that they didn't want to tarnish the characters in 2002 by making them too edgy, so that had to be watered down. So it's weird. It's like, without Zombie Island, we would have had the Gosnell Cut, and that's kind of mad, now that I think about it.
Or would we? Would they have invested in Scooby again without it?
I think they would have. I think they would have, because a lot of things have weird, like, live-action counterparts. Like, there's one that is always compared with the Brady Bunch movie. I think that had kind of fallen off, so they make like a more adult parody of it. I think we still would have got 2002 if it wasn't for Zombie Island.
Okay, my next question. Be careful where you tread with this, because I know people have mixed opinions on this movie, and I'm quite strong in my beliefs. Do you think The Witch's Ghost was a worthy follow-up to Zombie Island?
No, it was the worst. No, actually, I love The Witch's Ghost.
Yeah.
The thing is, my thing with The Witch's Ghost is it's so good, but at the same time, I need my brain to be turned off so I can enjoy it. If I scrutinize it...
Are you kidding me?
No, because when I try to review it, I was thinking about, like, why does the turkey remain full size after all the other spells are reversed? Like, surely a situation here would be, why is Ben Ravencroft doing what he's doing? Why can't he look himself? Why did he recruit these people? But then going through it, all the performances are top notch. The jokes are so funny, and the backstory that's given to Sarah Ravencroft is, I think, one of the best Scooby villains that we've had. And
The Hex Girls.
Oh, the Hex Girls. Yes. Like what the heck? Where did they come from? Well, we know Rick Cott, but like, where did he get like? Oh, he must have been blessed on the day that he came up with them, because the Hex Girls. What can you like? Come on, just the Hex Girls. That's all you need to say, really. Just the Hex Girls.
Yeah.
Like, what do you say about the Witch's Ghost? The Hex Girls. That's it. Then just drop the mic, leave the room.
No, Sarah Ravencroft and the Hex Girls. They're the two big things I love.
What about
I
Tim
would go
Curry?
as far as to say, possibly to this day, The Witch's Ghost is my favourite Scooby-Doo movie.
So, are you happy to have spoken to Rick Cott and David Goodman?
I am. So, I'm going to have to skip a few movies here, because this is ultimately... We've gone over these in my short part.
Yeah, phase...
But like we say, that kind of phase...
ends with Cyber Chase, I think.
It does, which, again, an incredible movie. Call back to some villains there as well, which, of course, is always good to see. And then we launch headfirst into what I call the new era, the post-What's New era. So What's New's 2002... And I believe the next movie is Legend of the Vampire, where we see the return of the Hex Girls.
It's funny, I disagree with your phasing there. I think this is phase 3.
Yeah, that's what I said, right?
Well, no, but I think this isn't the What's New phase. So after Cyber Chase, I think you've got the reunion phase, which reunited, say, Nicole Jaff, Heather North, for Legend of the Vampire, Monster of Mexico. And then I think it went into the other phase. So
with Loch Ness.
Yeah,
because
so
they have the outfits for What's New as well.
They're not what it's not my favourite. It's not my favourite Fred. I'll say that.
Now Loch Ness again is the only movie for me that could rival Witch's Ghost. But I think what's interesting to note at this point is we are at the stage now where we're looking at least one Scooby movie a year. So that started in 2003 with Legend of the Vampire, and that's when we start this thing of yearly Scooby movies. So from Loch Ness we go into Aloha, Where's My Mummy, Pirates Ahoy, Chill Out, which arguably was terrible, Goblin King, which was a really pleasant surprise.
I can't believe you just take the time to say it, which was arguably terrible.
Okay then, it was just terrible.
I like that. Yeah, but it had Alfred Molina in.
Abracadabra-doo, Camp Scare.
Oh, Camp Scare. Camp Scare is the one for me, or one of the ones for me, that I think can rival my love of 2002.
Ooh. Okay. Then Legend of the Phantasaur, Music of the Vampire, Big Top, Mask of the Blue Falcon, The Mystery Map. This is when somebody did something wrong. That was a
But
mystery.
again, it does seem like we're skipping over these, but trust us, we have at least a 2-hour episode dedicated to every single one of them. Like,
yeah, there's a playlist of this, but kind of we're just going through the history of the here. So Stage Fright, WrestleMania Mystery, Frank and Creepy, Moon Monster Madness, Kith, Rock and Roll Mystery, yes. Scooby-Doo Haunted Hollywood.
I like Haunted Hollywood.
Yeah.
I liked Haunted Hollywood.
Curse of the Speed Demon. Shaggy's Showdown was good. Blowout Beach Bash. Now, I remember around this era with The Brave and the Bold, when we were doing the reviews, I was so sad at this point. I was so done with it. I was quitting the show because I genuinely wasn't enjoying like Blowout Beach Bash and the Brave and the Bold. And then we get the Gourmet Ghost. And the writer of that movie restored my faith in Scooby-Doo.
And don't forget the goat, the homie, Audrey Wazalewski, Sue Shefster, and Nacho Flair.
And then we get to the bit that I'd say was maybe an era, because we have the returns. Scooby-Doo and the Curse of the 13th Ghost. What's a Scrappy?
Well, here's the thing that annoys me. People always just instantly review these movies negatively because they're cash grabs. And they are. But I think the word cash grabs has become synonymous with bad, lazy, which isn't always the case. Like, Finding Dory was a cash grab, but it was awesome. So, just because it's a cash grab doesn't mean it's going to be bad. However, in these cases, both Curse of the 13th and Return to Zombie are lacking considerably. In fact, a fun fact, the Return to Zombie Island was almost our return into Scooby before Smash, and arguably that was Scoob, but it was just, oh, let's check this out versus, you know, So technically Scoob did it before Smash, but it was nearly Return to Zombie Island, which I want to say I don't think we would have done well. I think we got in at the right time. That's what I say, because it almost seemed like it was written in the stars, because Smash reintroduced us to it, and then the next one to come out after that was Sword and the Scoob, and then it was straight out of nowhere.
Okay, see, my thing with the Curse of the 13th Ghost is if it hadn't been for Velma in the last 3 minutes, this could have been a very good movie.
Were you Scooby-stitious?
I was so angry with her, I hated her. Then Return to Zombie Island, which in my opinion should never have been done. You should never go back to a classic.
Well,
Happy, okay, unless you have a really good reason to, and in this case it was just to debunk that it was real. So then, kind of catching up to modern day, we have Happy Halloween, The Sword and the Scoob, straight out of nowhere. They're the last 3, right?
Yeah.
So that kind of does it for animation. Of course, we kind of had the live action ones through the years as well. We had, you know, standard Scooby-Doo the movie, Monsters Unleashed, The Mystery Begins, as well as Curse of the Lake Monster and Daphne and Velma. So, JayBee, what did you think to the live action iterations, like we need to ask?
They're great. Well, I think 2002 is wonderful. It's just such a cool blend between something so radical and bizarre. I want to say bizarre, but with such a unique, like, taste and flavor that I literally know people that have never, like, touched back into the world of Scooby, you know, for years and years and years. But literally, before a night out, for pre-drinks, they put on the 2002 movie. And you can say that that's good or that's bad. It definitely isn't a purist movie. But I think it's probably the one with, along with Monsters Unleashed, with the most universal nostalgic appeal for people, you know, our age, I guess I want to say. So, yeah, I literally know people that still watch 2002 that have never even thought about the other world of Scooby since. And it's, like, I think my favourite at this point. Monsters Unleashed was fine, you know. The monsters were great, the music was great. It just wasn't... it didn't hit me the same way. I
guess, like we say, that brings us up to the 53 years of Scooby-Doo movies, but looking for moving forward into year 54, do you think there's anything we're going to see in the next year live action wise?
No. Except for the Day Elsa project, no. I do think, however, we're going to get another iteration of Mystery Incorporated, the animated, but I think it's going to be a direct-to-video movie. Because Mitch Watson said that they're always trying to get the team back together to do more Mystery Incorporated. And I don't see them derailing a whole series worth of stuff. Not like derailing that it would be a mistake, but distracting from the other shows that they've got going on. Like, they've got shows going on, but they've cancelled a movie. I think they make a Mystery Incorporated movie and bring Mitch Watson back as the writer, Victor Cook as the director. You know, they have maybe Roger being a co-writer. I think they bring all that cast and crew back, maybe with the exception of Mindy Cohn, and make a new Mystery Incorporated, but as a movie. Okay, so you started to touch on it there. We talked about, did you think there's anything for live action? But cartoon, Scooby, for movie-wise over the next year, Mystery Incorporated movie would be great. We, of course, know we've got Trick or Treat coming up. What's your thoughts on the Crypto movie? Do we think it's something we're ever going to see, or at least in the next year? Well, here's a weird thing. There's leaked photos currently online about with Shaggy and Scooby with a load of DC superheroes, and people are going, "Oh wow, that's Crypto." But I don't know. I think there's definitely a Scooby-Doo DC thing in the works. Whether it's Crypto, I don't know. I will say this: when we asked David Kay about Crypto, I stand by body language wise. I think he kind of avoided the camera a bit more when we were talking about it. So I don't know if he's Crypto. I know he played Crypto in the past, but I don't know. I don't know about Crypto. Do you think we'll see something, like you said, there's some, you know, DC links there. Do you think it's something we'll see in the next year? Yeah. Okay. I do. And finally, the question I have to ask, but don't know that I want the answer to.
In regards to what we're going to see over the next year, do you think any part of it could be Holiday Haunt?
Define next year, like year 54.
Year 54.
So from this date to this date next year.
Yeah, like, do you think we could have an announcement at least that it's going to come out next Christmas by this time next year? Like I said, it's a question I didn't want to have to ask, but I feel like if we're talking about the future of Scooby, it has to be in there.
Honestly, no. I would say if they make the announcement the 1st of October next year that Holiday Haunt is coming out on
That
DVD
Christmas.
and select theatres for that Christmas. And I think that's what happened.
Okay, well, we can only hope.
It will be, I think it will definitely be saved, but I don't think it will be until next Christmas. Definitely not this Christmas. If it's released this Christmas, I don't know what I'll do. I'll eat an onion in the next Q&A. Like, you know, chronology. Even if we're still doing the show, that is, I don't know. I'll eat an onion anyway, you'll have my word. But if it's released this year, actually we will be doing it this year. Yeah, okay. If Holiday Haunt is released this year, in the earliest Q&A, the next Q&A closest to Christmas, I will consume an entire raw onion on camera. Yeah.
Okay, so finally.
So people that don't like me, petition down below. Let's get it done. If you don't want to see Holiday Haunt, you at least might want to see me suffer. So sign the petition. Let's get it released this year. I'm going to eat an onion.
Okay, so guess kind of final thoughts is it's been an incredible Scooby year, right? Another year on and it's still going strong. My favourite part of Scooby this year has got to have been celebrating the 20th anniversary of the live action movie.
Don't even say that.
That's certainly my memory of the year, although competing with that has to be the Daphne and Velma books. I discovered them this year. The third one's just been released. I've just finished it and I love it. So they're my favourite Scooby moments of the year. What would yours be?
Honestly, 1 year,
50 interviews.
50 interviews. Like, that's just unheard of. And we only wanted to do 12. And here's the thing, I have the means,
the motive
and the opportunity to release 3 interviews today to make us 53 interviews. I'm not gonna do it, but I would be lying if I said I wasn't tempted. I have the means, motive, and opportunity to drop 3 interviews today.
Well, JayBee, speaking of dropping interviews, tomorrow's the 20th anniversary of What's New Scooby-Doo.
It is.
Is there something dropping tomorrow?
It isn't. It's cancelled, actually.
I'm sure it's not.
Okay, so we've had a good time interviewing people from What's New. We've had the composer, the writer for the What's New Scooby-Doo theme tune and a load of the Chase songs, Rich Dickerson. We then had Ed Sharlock, writer, producer, and story editor. And then we kind of had their main, kind of one of their main partners along with Jim Krieg, George Doty the Fourth. And he's never, from what I've seen,
fourth, JayBee?
It's the fourth. Is it the fourth? It is the fourth.
I'm just bullying you because when you entered the Zoom, you asked about pronouncing it and you thought IB was 5.
I thought it was 5 because King Henry got me messed up. But yeah, I don't think he's ever done a Scooby show before. I don't even think he's done a podcast interview before. So breaking new ground, George Doty the Fourth, amazing guy, such a cool interview. And oh my gosh, he put so much effort into the preparation. Like, there were things that he showcased that I don't think people have even, they didn't know it existed. So really cool to be able to uncover that about, some of our favorite childhood shows. So yeah, George Doty.
Well, that does it for this year of Scooby. Subscribe to the channel. We're going to be dropping so much more content this year. Really building up, ready to celebrate the 54th anniversary. Oh my gosh. I feel like we're still going to be, able to do this in 10 years' time. I think Scooby.
I don't.
Long live Scooby.
I can't do this when I got kids, I'll tell you that. But what I will say, maybe we fall off this year. But I think no matter what we do, because like Animal Crossing, we loved. We played it to death. Now it's come back a bit, we're playing it again. Maybe we do something else. Maybe we try something else. Maybe Scooby kind of drops off for a bit. But no matter what, the 55th anniversary, they're gonna do something big for it. I know they're. And in fact, here's one thing I predict live action wise. Gosnell Cut. I know something. I think behind the scenes. Well, I'm not gonna say it because it was like a private thing. But there are things that have happened to me that I feel indicates that the Gosnell Cut is happening. Legit.
Do I know these things?
Yeah.
Because I'm not as sold on this as you, but we'll see. And to be honest, I don't think Warner Brothers know how to do a celebration because it's like Scooby-Doo, where are you now?
No, I have.
It's probably gonna like Scooby-Doo, where were they then?
I'll say this: I have been.
And then where will they be?
Contacted by someone
Careful.
The information and the stuff that
think about how many things you can share here.
That they needed from me things that could make things possible. That's all I'll say. But I strongly think the Gosnell Cut is happening, and I'd go as far to say as it's already out by this time next year. It's out. It's been out for months.
I'm gonna go as far as to say I think JayBee could be crazy, but I see where it's coming from.
I can't say it, but it's coming out.
Where we're drawing the line here.
Coming out. I think it's coming out.
We look forward to doing this again next year, and we will see where Scooby is at that time. We hope you've enjoyed this video. Comment down below your favourite memory of your 53 years of Scooby-Doo. And like we say, some more celebrations coming. It's the 20th anniversary of What's New Tomorrow, and we'll see you then.
Ooh.